I learned about the police gangs, let me see, maybe like in my first year, my first year. My first year. That's when I heard of, I mean, I've been heard about the police gangs, but the 3,000 boys, I learned about them my first year, in the case. They was the worst out of all the police gangs because that's where they start at. They start in the county jail and then they merge out to the street once they be able to go to patrol. But that's because of they gang rank once they either beat an inmate or kill an inmate. You kill an inmate, it's certain privilege, certain stuff come with that. If you beat an inmate, you get certain stuff for that too. So that's like part of the initiation and part of the stuff that they get, which I heard they get all kind of stuff. I heard they get money, cars, vacations. It's like an enterprise. If you're a good abuser, you get awarded for being a good abuser. And your stuff come in that ink, like them tattoos they got. Them tattoos, they have to earn them tattoos. And you see all they tattoos is skulls. Every last one of those tattoos got a skull somewhere in there. I think that just represents death for them. So I know y'all killed my son.
You have every right to be out here. We did not bother y'all.
We're live in Ferguson, Missouri tonight.
This tragic death has exposed so many fault lines in American society.
See the man there, jogging down the road. The killing has sparked protests and demands for arrests.
Say their name. Say their name.
Justice was not given in this case, and that we've got to correct it.
Did you guys see that shooting that happened 2 days ago? Because don't worry, if you missed it, there was another one yesterday.
Two videos. Death of a black man inside his own apartment in Dallas.
Incident after incident, year after year.
When news flashes past and the trauma remains, whose story? What story? Her story.
He wasn't no criminal. My baby was a good man, good heart.
Hashtags through his story. The story again the same. Until justice and truth obtained, we will always say their name.
Hi, I'm Adele Coleman. Thank you for tuning into Say Their Name, brought to you by DCP Entertainment. This series takes a deeper look into the impact of the assault and killing of Black people by the police and in Stand Your Ground states. We share the stories from families who have been negatively impacted by the police. We did not talk to officers or to governing bodies, just the families and their support systems. We are not the court of law, nor do we try to be for legal purposes. We are not here to presume guilt or innocence for anyone because, quite frankly, we do not want to be sued. We simply want to give the families a voice while examining what happens when the hashtags stop and the news cycle unfortunately moves on to the next big story. All we want to do is give the families the opportunity to control their narrative and share ways that we can all help. Warning, some of the discussions may be particularly disturbing and even emotionally overwhelming at times. When one of those moments occur that may be particularly triggering, you will hear this chime. For more specific details on the timing of these moments, please visit our show notes. On this episode of Say Their Name, we focus on John Horton. Welcome to Say Their Name. I am your host, Adele, joined with my co-host and executive producer, Chris. Hey, Chris.
Hey there.
We started this season highlighting the stories of women. We started in the Washington, D.C. area, highlighting the stories of Miriam Carey and Corinne Gaines and just amplifying their stories. And the next person takes us out to L.A., but we had a unique connection that brought us here. Share a little bit about that with us, Chris.
Well, as you mentioned, we went out to L.A., and last season we never got a chance to get to California in terms of being able to tell some of these stories. So that was a priority for us going into this season. And in last season, we wanted to go beyond just telling you these stories. We wanted to actually have an impact in working with families around the country to help end these situations and also find relief for them. And in doing so, we started using the platform Clubhouse, where we were having these conversations with people who are trying to help. And we were connected with an organization called Say Their Names LA, and they actually really did a lot of work with us on Clubhouse, and they're on the ground doing work with families, working directly with them to find out what they need instead of just jumping to action and trying to do stuff on their behalf without asking them. And so we really loved that mission, and we started working with them more, and they brought us Helen Jones, the mother of John Horton, to one of our Clubhouse events, and we learned about John and what he went through and what the family went through. And so we thought it was really important to bring that here to the Say Their Name podcast so that you all can understand as well.
Yeah, I really appreciate the work that Say Their Names LA is doing and, just kind of being connected to them as well. We learned something unique about the story of John Horton from his mom. They mentioned about gangs and the sheriff gangs. Can you elaborate on that and what that meant within the prison system?
Last year, it was the first time I had learned about sheriff gangs in LA, and it was Say Their Names LA and what we were doing with them on Clubhouse that first opened our eyes to it. And we were more talking about the sheriff gangs in LA in terms of just like on the street. And, that's not something that we're going to get in super in depth within this particular episode. So that's something I encourage all of you to look up more, these sheriff gangs. There's, I believe, about 12 of them out there. But we focused in this episode really around the prison system because a lot of these officers start as corrections officers before they get out there as police officers, as detectives and things like that. And so these sheriff gangs in the prison systems are where they're learning the tactics of how to beat people and make sure it doesn't show bruises or, how they are killing people and getting incentivized and then get tattoos to initiate them into the gang. So the things that they're doing to these individuals in the prison systems and also a lot of times on the street are their initiation into the gang. And so this episode really highlights some of the problems that we're seeing in these correctional facilities. Even though we're talking about LA, it's things that are happening throughout California and also could be happening in other areas as well.
Yeah, it's really disturbing even, to hear what the family of John Horton had to go through within the prison system. Can you speak to some of those other issues within the prison system?
So, you got to think too, this is something that we see just across the board, but the prison systems a lot of times are this rotating door where once you get booked into the system, it's hard to, even if you get out, you get on parole or, you do your time and you're back on the street, a lot of times you find yourself right back into the prison. It's this almost this self-fulfilling prophecy of creating you into a criminal. Even if the first time you were booked, you actually were innocent. But the second you get booked into the system, it's hard to find your way out of it. And part of what I noticed around this was the locations of where we put our jails. Helen pointed out to me in the Watts neighborhood that we were visiting her in and talking to her in, there's a prison just right there across the highway. And that prison overlooks the Watts neighborhood, almost as like this ominous sign of this is where you're going to end up. And vice versa, if you do end up in the jail, now you're there looking out at your old neighborhood. You're seeing what's lost and what the mental ramifications of that. Like the prison systems alone are hard from a mental and emotional standpoint. But, for somebody who's actually from that community to see that this is where my family has ended up, this is where friends have ended up, even if they've tried to do good, that really holds people down. And so that was an eye-opening experience for me. And I really appreciate Helen, educating me and educating us about that.
Yeah, that's really tough, because you hear about prisons and the school to prison pipeline, but here it's like literally in your community, just like overshadowing it. And yeah, like you said, the mental and the psychological ramifications and effects of that's really tough. A lot of people who are regular listeners or, even if this is your first time listening, they know that we go within the communities. We go sit with the families. We go, talk with them. COVID puts a little bit of restrictions on it, but we do go within the environment and, to learn a little bit more. You had a unique experience, with this interview when you went to speak with the family of John Horton. Can you share a little bit about what happened to you?
As I mentioned, we were in Watts, and it's always important to meet these people where they feel most comfortable. And it also gives us a viewpoint of what they're dealing with. And so in this situation, I got a little taste of what these community members have been dealing with in terms of the constant harassment by police. You'll hear more about it in this episode, but I'll briefly mention my experience where literally we're there, having our conversation. I parked my car outside of her place on the street and was legally parked. And by the time the interview was done, I went out there and my car had been towed. And after talking to some of the community members, they let us know that the cops had actually towed my car away. So we called and we found out it was actually the sheriff's department who towed me away. Of all the people out there, it was the people that we were just talking about that towed me. And over the next 24 hours was just absolute hell trying to get my rental car back, to the point where even Hertz was weighing in, the people who I rented the car from, and even they were weighing in like, I've never heard of this kind of stuff before. They were just making up different different roadblocks. And every time I satisfy something that they needed, they'd put another roadblock in front of me. And so I just got this small glimpse into what these people in this community are dealing with on a regular basis. And we're just talking about my rental car, let alone somebody's just daily life. And I was there for a work trip. God forbid I actually had to go to work the next day and my paycheck depended on it. I might get fired because I couldn't show up to work because I had to spend 24 hours trying to get my car out of impound, or just literally the money to get it out of impound I don't have, and now I don't have a way to get to work. These small little microaggressions that can happen. This was just a small taste on a very small scale of what these people are dealing with. And so I really appreciate Helen for helping me out, by the way. She was, driving me around trying to help me get things done, and she's apologizing to me. And honestly, I apologize to her for what she has to deal with on a regular basis. But, it's tough.
We often, and even within ourselves, we've encountered or heard stories of the different levels of harassment or, officers making things difficult for you to just kind of, give them a quote, quote reason or, whatever it may have you. This shows it. We hear more in the episode about the different levels of harassment that they've even dealt with. And for you to experience it firsthand, just gathering an interview, like you said, of course, it's not at all on the spectrum or the level of what John Horton experienced, but to just kind of have a glimpse of what they're dealing with. And this is their community. They have to go back to that, whereas we're kind of coming in and then we're leaving and, of course, supporting the families as best we can. But this is regular to them, and that's the unfortunate part of it. But you also got to kind of explore a little bit of Watts and learn a little bit more about Watts. Can you share a little bit on that? Like, I'm not from there. I've never been there before. What was that like for you?
And just to quickly touch on something that you just mentioned, they want to. The police want you to get agitated and essentially, at least through your words, fight back, because then they can say, well, he's being belligerent. Let me take him to jail, and now you become part of that pipeline. But yeah, I was really fortunate to be able to go out there to Watts and be with Helen there. I got a sense of, and you'll hear her talking about this community that is there and why she loves Watts so much and why she doesn't want to leave. And I got to experience a little bit of that in terms of just, how the community works together. Like I was just saying, the community was helping us figure out where my car was. But you'll hear in the background, different family members coming in and out of the house. And when I say family can be extended family in these kind of communities where it's people you grew up with, it's your friends. And so it was just great to kind of see how there was just that open ability to just come in and out, and everybody loves and knows each other. You also hear dogs in the background and planes, because unfortunately our tough neighborhoods tend to be in not the best of places. So, it was good to be able to experience it. It's also sad to know what these people are living through, but this is their world, this is their community, and they don't necessarily want to leave it. So how can we work together to make their situation, their community, a better one?
I 100% agree. And, I look forward to learning and hearing more about their community. So let's all check it out with the story of John Horton.
My name is Helen Jones, and I'm the mother of John Horton. I was born and raised here in Watts. My mother was a homemaker, where she cleaned house for a living, but she felt like that was her business, a lot of people why are you still doing that? And she said, because you know what? The people that she worked for, she'd been with them before I was even born. So they really became like family to her, and a lot of them was 20 years older than her. So she really just started taking care of them and really turned it into a good business for herself. She just loved taking care of people. Because not only did she raise me, her 6 kids, but she raised another family member 5 kids. And she even turned around and raised another 5 kids. So she raised 15 kids on her own, Well, my dad used to work for General Motors. He used to work for and he retired from General Motors. Growing up, what I wanted to do for a living, honestly, is I wanted to make films. From a little girl, from Little Rascals. And in this neighborhood, I always had, even when I was a little girl, even the younger kids, I always had them made a little play stage in the backyard. So I was always organized even back then, but I just wasn't doing, the regular organizing. But I was always working with the young kids around me.
What kind of films did you want to do?
True stories. I get moved. I'm moved by true stuff, stuff that really happened. So that's what my love was. And also music, which I end up doing. But here in Watts, honestly, it was more community during the time when I was right? And it still kind of is today, but it was really more community because that was like in the 70s when everybody whooped your butt. You couldn't even go around the corner. You done got 3 whoopings before you got on like, how you whooping me? It was a village. I raised up during a time to me when it was really a village. So I had fun growing up in Watts. I met John's father when I moved and got my first apartment. Met him through one of my family members. Within weeks, we was together. So, when I found out I was pregnant, I was ready to have kids. I ran the streets. I'm talking about, when I say walked them and ran them, we was in the streets so much, I was just tired of them. Portia, my oldest daughter, I had her when I was 20 years old. So I was ready to have a baby. I was ready for motherhood. Honestly, when I got pregnant with John, I was kind of going through like a rush path in my life, but he made it better just because I knew I was having another baby. And I know what kids are. It is our blessings. I knew that because I knew it was a lot of people that couldn't have kids. I knew that was a blessing to be able to, have a baby. So I was happy. The day I gave birth to John, we both almost got lost. We both almost died doing that, yeah. Cord was wrapped around his neck. So they had to give me an emergency C-section. So when I woke up, I didn't know if I had a baby or not. So I was just so happy to just know that I didn't lose him. As a little bitty baby, he was really quiet. He didn't cry. I was like, dang, what's wrong? Like, you ain't cry? You ain't never cry? Like, he didn't cry for nothing. He didn't cry for a bottle. He didn't cry, period. He would just sit there and just look at you. So I was like, but once he started walking, it was over. And once he got teeth, he wanted to bite everybody. Yeah, everybody was running from John. So he was an active little kid. It's like, I was saying, no wonder he didn't say nothing. No wonder he didn't cry, because now he making up for it. He was chasing everybody. All of family members was like, Helen, if he bite my baby again, I'm going to bite him myself. So he done got bit by grown-ups too, you know what I'm saying? Because they was like, I got to teach him a lesson. Like, don't bite my baby. But I went through that with him. Yeah, people was pissed off with me because he had some little sharp teeth and he would chase all the kids. I'd be like, don't do that. He'd be like, he didn't care. As a little baby, he just thought biting people was something good until he got bit back,
As a baby, John terrorized anyone that got within nibbling range. Luckily for some of John's siblings, they weren't around when John was going through that teething phase.
I have 6 kids.
Yeah, so my name Broderick, and John was my brother, though. Good peoples, man. Rest in peace. Good folks. I was younger when I had met him. I met him through my mom right here, Mama H, her and my dad is married, so that's how we is, family. But through that, though, he's still my brother, though. No matter the paperwork or not, because we always had like a good connection. Him, my sister Portia, all of us, from Bruce, Byron, all of us. Little Brucey, we always like a family.
These are my kids. And no step, none of that. These are my babies.
John was my folks right there, man. That's my brother. Man, he was funny, goofy. Always made a nigga laugh, had good jokes and all that for a nigga, man. I ain't gonna lie. Good person to be around, good vibe, good energy.
He got along with everybody. Just how siblings get along. And John was just like one of those kids that kind of stood out a little bit because when he was a little boy, he always wanted to have his little gold change on. He didn't want to go nowhere without his gold. So he had like a little swag even as a little kid, like, by himself. So he kind of stood out a little bit.
In LA specifically, everything is about a look. Everybody want to look good and have that fly shit on with the gold chain and have your hair cut done every week. So that's the thing when you young and you popping.
John, he was a natural artist as a little boy. Really, because I was too. I was a natural artist also. He was a natural artist and music. It was just like second nature to him. He loved it. But plus, he also grew up in the house with me doing it. I mainly listened to all the old music like Mary Wells, Martha Reeves, all the old, because I'm still on the old, I'm an oldie person. So he raised up kind of listening to that. One of my cousins, his father was playing all the rap music, and so John kind of got both worlds.
I know it was on a lot of Wayne back in the day. A lot of South, like Southern artists, you know, from Louisiana, people like that.
Tupac, Cameron, yeah. But Tupac was his favorite because he have everything. He got the, Tupac clothes with the jean, Tupac face on his pants, on his shirt. I'm like, boy, you done turned into Tupac. Yeah, so he loved Tupac. Oh, Lord. Dear Mama. Oh, yeah, he had it bad. He would call me. He could, especially like if he'd be out of town somewhere, he'll call me and I pick up the phone. Dear Mama playing. I'd be, John. And he'd make me listen to the whole song. I didn't want to just hang up in his face like, boy, I'm busy right now, But I would listen to it. It was like, oh, Lord. Yeah, he did it all the time. Well, yeah, he was a mama boy, yeah. John would come every day and kiss me on my jaw with a wet kiss. I'd be like, oh, he was a practical joker when it came to me. So he felt like, you my mama, I can kiss you on your jaw. I can put spit on your jaw. No, you can't, So he would do me like that every day. And he would just tell me, Mama, I love you, Mama. I hug you, John was really affectionate. And he would always tell me that, I love you, Mama. I love you, And yeah, I miss that so much, because yeah, it's nothing else like it. And you know what, me and John's birthday was just like a month apart. It was just like a month apart. And and what we'd do is like, we all get together like in here and do music together. We all, like my two nephews, John, and my cousin that you see right here. So all of us, we all close like that. So we all get together and just like get in here, party a little bit, everybody rap, record, like the group or, stuff like that. But my first time ever hearing John rapping, he was maybe like 9 years old. And he was like, Mama, I know how to rap. And I was like, oh, you do, baby? He's like, yeah. I said, okay, He's like, I'm shy. So I told him to go behind the door, close the door and go in there. And I heard him rap, and I was like, oh, he got something. That's when I really knew. Because I didn't try to push that on my kids, because that was just something I love to do. But he loved it too.
Helen's love for music and for family led her to create a record label in their Watts home.
It's called Head High Entertainment. I started it with my mom. Right around the corner from here is where I grew up at. We was in that house for 37 years. My mom and them passed out. They passed from that house. And when my mom passed and my dad passed, my mom had 8 kids that was there. So I had to go there and take over that house and make sure everything was running straight. So I started it in my mother's garage because there was so many kids around and I'm doing my thing there. So I'm like, you know what, I had got like this little karaoke machine and it was like a real good one. I paid like $400 for it. And that's how we started, right in the garage. And at that time, I had like about 10 kids around me, from the neighbors, from my nieces and nephews. I started the label up with John and 2 of my nephews. That's how we got started. Oh, he loved it. I started working with them, showing them how to use their voice, showing them how to write. And yeah, and they got real good at it. You know what? John told me, he said, Mama, I want to be an artist, but he said, I like producing more better. He liked the background. So I like to be behind the scenes too. But that's what he was like. He said, I love producing way more than I do like to be a performer. He was a brilliant writer also. He'd been writing since he was like 10 years old.
He was doing like a lot of stuff though, from producing and rapping, freestyling and stuff like that. With him, he wanted us to do more than that. Like, y'all niggas want to go to school, go to school. If y'all want to progress in this rapping, because we was rapping too at the time, man. Me and my cousins across the street, we was like a little clique called the Young Stars. Still shout out Head High, it's my folks right there. So, but yeah, he had us rapping and all that, messing with the turntables and stuff like that. He always told the truth, kept it real honest with me. He ain't father nothing, that's what I loved about him, to where it's like, what's this? Okay, man, that's what that is, If I found some weed, hey, man, that's weed right there. Your daddy gonna get on you. All right, put that back right there, you know what I'm saying? Because, we around a bunch of grown folks. I got a big family. So as a youngster, you're gonna see a lot of shit to where, okay, what's that beer right there? What's that Coke 45? Man, put that down. He's one of them people like that look out for you, you know what I'm saying? Instead of, hey man, come in the back, man, come take a hit of, you know. He was never like that. Good folks, just strive. That's how my whole family was. But him, man, he was a striver. Meeting him as a young age, and I'm like, oh yeah. Dude, like me and him were two different people. Like when I was his age, or even younger than him, I'm like, okay, yeah, he was way more advanced than I was, you feel me, to where so he was, you know, getting in trouble and stuff like that, but he was always had that heart though on him to where he gonna be that nigga, I should say. Excuse my friends, I'm cussing and all that badly, but man, I'm speaking the real though. You can see in somebody wearing somebody like a person that's gonna be big, and that's how I kind of was, like, okay, yeah, he just needed the right path, but I ain't gonna lie, because you know around here, it's a lot of gang activity, you feel me? And when it comes to that, it's like it's hard for the young ones to really grow up and choose for themselves because they see a structure that's the streets as far as having guidance from the older ones out here, because the older ones out here gang banging, so that is the structures.
And honestly, in our community, we never had nothing to do. Honestly, the first thing that was put here is a gym, and that's brand new, but look how long it took for them to do something in Watts. The kids really have nothing to do here. Because you didn't do nothing but throw a shopping center up here, like maybe 15 years ago, but it's nothing for the people. No community centers in place, in walking distance for nobody to, you know, for the kids to honestly be able to just use. So it really no change here, period. I mean, even with the police, they done calm down a little bit. And the only reason why they calm down because everybody got their cameras out now and everybody using their phone and ain't nobody taking their mess no more. But the police used to be extra bad. They still bad here, but they used to be 5 times worse than what they are now. Honestly, I can maybe bring a couple of people and they'll tell you that we felt like slaves here. Honestly, we really did. Because we really couldn't even come out our yards. No coming out your yard, just walking down the street. You're going to be up against a gate being searched. It was that frisk and search, and they did it with everybody. They didn't just do it with the men, they did the women too. So it was bad. It was bad. I honestly, I really felt bad for the men. I just feel bad for black men, period, for what I've seen, what they have to go through.
The police been doing this for years. When they supposed to be here to protect and serve, that term gets so miscrewed sometimes. Like that term just get taken advantage of, and they just protect and serve themselves. They're not protecting and serving no citizens. Like I can be at my granny house, we ain't doing nothing, and they come and hem us up. For what though? You got all these peoples everywhere, but y'all steady want to come fuck with us. Just last week we was all out here just chilling, drinking, doing our shit. All my cousins, all of us family chilling. Long story short, the police pull up, and we know the routine. Hey, yeah, man, how you guys doing? All right, we doing good. Get up against the gate. Automatically. Now we all getting searched. And when I tell you this shit happen frequently, this shit happen often. Like it happens very often. You're getting hemmed up. 7 times out of 10, I could say. And that's a high number right there. That means every 10 times the police pass through, 7 times they finna get on us. And I wanna say 5 out of 10 times we gonna get searched. The other 2, they may hop out, look around and all that, talk to us, bullshit with us and all that. But it's always been happening though, shit, since I was little. That's why I don't be outside on these streets like that. You can go in the projects to where them folks been living there since they been brought to them projects from the war. If, when you do your history about how our projects is made and all that, to all them folks coming from the Vietnam and all that, yeah, them folks was put in there. But it's a thing to where this shit been going on, no. And it's like a cycle that must be stopped.
Is displaced in your own community. That's just what it was like. And just for me to witness and see them go through that, it was hard to see my friends raise up. It was hard as being a teenager to live that and to see them go through that. It made you feel like you was less than. It made you feel like this is not even my community. If you're not free to walk around in your community, how could it feel like your community when you're not even free to even go to the store and get a snack? If the police happen to be coming, you and that snack gonna be on the front of that car. John, he hated it. He hated it because if he tried to go to the store, as many a time he'd come back in his gate, he'd be like, man, I can't stand him. He said they just stopped me, took all my stuff out of my pocket, made me take off my shoes, fell between my legs, squeeze them and just totally disrespect them. They went through that on a daily basis. So it was no freedom here. And it's still kind of the same. It's really, nothing really changed. It just slowed down a little bit because they know family members gonna come out on it. Back in the days, we had no rights. I mean, who was we gonna go tell? It wasn't nobody to go tell on the police. But now we got somebody, we can speak out, and we have other people that, we do have support. So that is the only difference. But it was like a slave thing going here. And it's normal, for not just me, not just John, all of them feel like that. I mean, I watched it from one generation to another. And the first thing people say, well, why are you in Watts? Like, this is where I was raised. I love Watts. This is my community. Was I supposed to leave it because the police is here? I'm supposed to stay away? No, this needs to be changed. In other words, because you abusing this community, I'm supposed to leave because you abusing it? That ain't making no sense. Why you can't love where you from? I mean, you got everybody loving where they from, but we can't love where we from because because the police abusing the city? Just crazy how they really express that. This is my community. These are my family members. Half of the people still here. I've been here since we was 3 and 4 years old. So we was raised here. It's people still here today that when you get 3 and 4 years old, you get the remembering people. So we've been friends that long and they still here.
John Horton's family is deeply rooted in their community. The record label that John's mother, Helen, created has provided a way for young people to get off the streets and away from police and gangs. John shared his mother's passion for music, but he also found some other ways to keep himself focused.
John was also a member of the Broadway boxing gym. He did that like 2 years straight, off and on. I was concerned about it because I always heard about the brain damage. So he was like, well, mama, everybody get hurt. You get hurt on the street, So I was like, well, keep them back up off of, let me show you how to get some jabs. He was like, you don't know what you're doing. I said, yes, I do. I'm like, keep them back. Do like Mayweather did, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, yeah, fight them back up off you. Keep them off your head if you can. Yes. Bobby Reed on him. He didn't last too long in that. But he just told me, Mama, I'm not disciplined enough to be a boxer. He said, I love it, but I'm just not that disciplined. He said, I love my music more better. So boxing wasn't his second love. He really did love it.
I never got to go boxing with him, man. I wish I would have, man. But yeah, nigga, he would have been a star doing that too, because he was like tall, slim, but he was stocky though. Like he had his muscle. He wasn't big like that, but you could tell like he was athletic as a motherfucker. So it was like, okay, he can be anything you want to be, anything. He had a mind of an eagle. You know what that means? That's like a metaphor to where when an eagle see what he want, he gonna go get it. That's how he was. You feel me?
He really was. He was just trying to find who he was. When he got killed, he was 22 years old. So they don't know who they are at 21 and 20, So he was really just trying to find where his heart was really at as a career. Because he even also told me, he said, Mama, you know what? I'm thinking about being not a correction officer, but work in the camps. He said, because I know I can help. I know what they need. I know. And I was like, that's a good career, John. He said, but I'm going to think about it over my music. So he had those 3 things that he was thinking about doing.
John Horton was young, But he was focused on his goals, and he made sure drugs were not going to be something that kept him from obtaining them. And yet somehow drugs still played a role in cutting his dreams short.
Okay, so what happened was John was standing next to somebody that he knew, and the guy had something in his pocket. I guess he had some paraphernalia or pipe. This was like a kind of like older guy. So they took this guy to jail and took John to jail too. So they tried to say that John sold this guy something. Yeah, that's what they was trying to say. Well, I'm going to just put it to you like this. I never seen John smoke marijuana, but he told me he had. So that's the only, that is the only substance I ever known John to use. John wasn't even a drinker. I never seen John take a drink in my life. Even when he was 21 years old, I still haven't never seen him take a drink. I even asked like my family, that hang with John, like, what was John? Because you don't know everything your kid's doing. We know how that go. And I was like, was he using? They was like, John didn't do that. John smoked weed. That's what John did. And that's what my family. I said, did he drink like that? And it was like, nah, we drank. He wasn't no drinker. They said, now you give us the Hennessy, but they said John just wasn't a drinker. But make a long story short, the guy was on drugs. The guy asked the judge, can you give me drug diversion? He said he was a vet and that, coming back from Vietnam and all that. The judge said, by him and John being on the same case together, the guy said, can you give me drug diversion? Because I never had no substance help. Drug diversion is a place where you rehab. It's like a rehab, yeah. So by the judge was giving the guy rehab, John was able to ask for it too because they was on the same case together. Well, John knew that either he can try to fight that 3 years or he can take that drug diversion too. So that's how John got drug diversion, was taking the plea with the man, so they can have the same thing. So instead of going to jail, he took that drug diversion. And he never turned himself in to go do the drug diversion. And that's something John didn't take serious. I say, John, you're going to have to go there and stay in that place. And he was like, why I got to stay in a place like that? I ain't did nothing. I'm not on nothing. I say, but you took a plea for that, So being young, he didn't really understand that. To me, I'm just saying, I'm not making an excuse for him, but I don't feel he really understood that if you don't go, they gonna lock you up. So I wish you would have went on and did that because they locked you up anyway. He ended up getting the 3 years anyway. That's how he got the drug diversion put on him, because he took the same plea to make his sentence lighter. Because if he wouldn't, he would have been fighting a possession of sale case. Because that's what they were trying to put on John. They were trying to say he sold something to this guy. And so the guy was like, this was already in my pocket. He ain't sold me nothing. I know him. The police don't want to hear that. But they're not out here to help. Well, he went on a run from there. He didn't go to the drug diversion class, the rehab place. So they put a warrant out on him. And I was letting him know, you want to turn yourself in? He was like, Mama, I'm not turning myself in no jail. He said, because you don't know what they do in there, what they be doing, all the stuff. He said, but if they catch me, I'll just give myself up. I won't even run. He said, but I'm not finna go turn myself into no police. I'm just not finna do that. So they gave him 3 years. So when they did, matter of fact, they got John from here. John went to jail, went to the hospital from here that day.
I'm going to give you something that the media says, but they say that he had an overdose, and that's why he ended up in the hospital. And once he got better, then they took him to jail. Can you let us know?
And that is a lie. He didn't have no overdose. Honestly, I'm going to just tell you something. I couldn't tell you what took place with John that day. John wasn't himself. I haven't seen John take nothing. I even asked a few people, like, which I think John took. And they was like, he ain't been nowhere. He was laying on the couch. So what did he take? When they took John to the hospital, they did a blood test. I can show you the proof of the blood test. Only thing John had in his system was marijuana. That's it. Nothing else. And I got that straight from the hospital. I promise you. If it was more in his system, I'd just say, but it's a lie. Only thing he had in his system was marijuana. He didn't even have alcohol in his system. But they say he said he was an alcoholic. He didn't even have that. It was sad. It was sad. But one thing I was looking forward to, spending this time with him and helping him get through that. Like just going visit him. And so I was looking forward to that. I'm like, okay, I said, well, don't worry about it. I'll come visit you like once a month, and before you know it, time is gone. That's 15 months. He's like, nah, mama, don't worry about it, So that's what we thinking. And they're just going, when he do go in there, he gonna go in there and do his time and come on back home. First visiting day, they let me visit John. He wasn't there yet when I sat down. And I was sitting there maybe like 2 minutes, and they brought him in. And there's two guards, a lady and a man. They let him in there, and then they took off. And within just 2 minutes, they was right back to get him. I'm like, I can't even talk to him all the way. And honestly, John, it was like if he was on some type of downer, like if they gave him something. He was like drowsy like, and I'm like, what the hell? Did they give him something, so I say, oh, you all right? He's like, yeah, Mom, okay. And I was like, well, you sharing a cell by yourself? Or are you with somebody? And he said, no, they got me by myself. Right then, that's when the guards came back and tried to end our visit. And they was like, you been here for 15 minutes? I'm like, you just set him here. I said, this only been like, 3 minutes at the most? So they was trying to intimidate me to get up. I didn't know that he was already in lockup. Yeah, they had already put him in lockup day one. So they was bringing him from lockup. That's why they was back there to get him. But they was illegally, when he should have been over there at the hospital, y'all got him over here in Men's Central and not at Twin Towers. Because that's what the hospital at Twin Towers, the medical unit. Men's Central is just a hellhole, just a dungeon over there. If he done had an overdose and did all this, what is he doing over here in Men's Central Jail? And you just brought him from the hospital. Why you got him over here? Why you don't have him over there? It don't even make no sense. So they came back to get him, and I let them know, looking at them, I'm not getting up. You're not taking my visit. They mad dog me for a minute. I'm doing it back, like not getting up. So they left. That's when I was letting him know, let me know what's going on with you, because you see they just tried to end your visit. And he was just like, I'm reading my Bible, Mama. That was the first thing came out of his mouth. He said, I'm reading my Bible, Mama. And I said, that's good, baby. I say, see, God with you. God gonna, work with you to, get out. And I said, did you remember what happened today? That's what I was asking him about. Did you remember what happened today that you went to the hospital? He said, not really. I say, how did you feel? He said, I just felt sick, because he was throwing up. He was just throwing up. So they came right back, took him on off. So that was the last time I seen him in a visiting room. I never held another conversation with John after that. At the time, my cousin just went through here, his father, because I raised his father. And his father told me that. He said, because his father called me Mama. Even though he was my cousin, he called me Mama. And he was like, Mama, you know what? He said, I hope John understand what they saying to him. He said, because they'll kill him. He told me those exact words. I didn't believe that. It was that bad. And so, honestly, I didn't take him as he was exaggerating, but just a little bit. That's why I was just hoping he was exaggerating. He was like, I just hope he really understand what they saying to him. He said, because I done seen people get killed right in my face. But during the time I was trying to see John and couldn't see him, a lot of people was telling me that. Like friends of mine, my brother, his father, they was all telling me that. They was like, they'll kill him in there. If he can't answer something fast enough or do that fast enough, your head will be in that wall. And I was just like, really? They was like, keep going, putting the visiting form in. I said, they won't let me visit. They say, do it anyway. So they'll know that he got a concerned mama here. And that's what I did. Every time I went and put a visiting pass in, they denied and told me that. First, they lied and told me that he was in some type of protective custody. And I was like, why would he need protective custody? What would he need protective custody for? But then I found out the truth. He was in lockup. He was in high power lockup. He was in the most highest lockup to be in, nonviolent offense. He was classified as a K-10. The worstest, super max, like if you a killer up there, yeah, they had him moving with waist chains. When they take him out of cell, but he's not the only one that has been done like that. There's so many. It was sad. It was just sad because I wasn't able to see him, couldn't talk to him, didn't even know what was on his mind. It was no communication, period. But the one time I seen him in court.
Helen continued to fill out her visiting forms and at last was finally granted a visit to see her son, John.
Yeah, I went there and I forgot my wallet. That was on Sunday. You know, you just reach out the house, go to the house real fast, and I left my wallet sitting on the table somewhere. And so we took off to go visit John, but when we got there, I couldn't get in because I didn't have my ID. So I told my cousin, I said, go on in there and visit him. I said, so that way, you know, at least go try to put the visiting form in. And that's when he came back out. He told me they wouldn't let me visit. They told me they arrest me if I try to visit, if I'm on probation or parole. And I was like, what? So anyway, what I did was I went back out into the car and I called. I got the watch commander. And then that's when I asked the watch commander, I let him know, I said, listen, I haven't seen my son in this many days. I mean, almost 30 days. They keep denying my visit. I say, where do y'all have him at? He say, he's in lockup, he's in discipline. I said, for what? He said, well, we can't discuss that over the phone. I said, I haven't seen my son, sir. I said, when can I see my son? He said, call me. This was Sunday. He said, call me Wednesday and I'll let you know what day you can see your son. And they came out the next day and told me John was dead. 2 homicide detectives came right here. They came here. Me and my daughter, Portia, and one of my friends, we was in here designing, because I design clothes too. Yeah, we was in here designing a dress for Portia. My husband came to the door and he said, 2 detectives outside want to talk to you and Portia about John. And I said, John dead. I knew he was dead. I knew right then. It was like an army thing. You know how the army come out? I knew it. I could just feel it. I said, John dead. And my husband said, don't say that. I said, he dead. I couldn't even go out there because my feet wouldn't move. I was really scared. You know, I didn't want to hear that. So I told my daughter, I said, Portia, go see what they want because I can't move. I was standing right there in the door right there. She ran back and said, Mama John dead, Mama John dead. I didn't come to maybe another 30 minutes later.
I remember, like it was yesterday. Man, I was out here talking to my daddy, and I just heard her scream out of nowhere. Like, she was just screaming. And my daddy went back to the scene and came back like, man, he just killed John. I said, damn. Nigga didn't know what to do. Like, you know, you get that cold shiver in your body. You just like feel like you just shaking, like you can't even eat nothing. Like, it's just like, it's like shit. This shit don't seem real. What? Like, it's one of those feelings like when you lose somebody real close to you. And I got 2 kids. I never lost a kid, but I can just imagine how that would feel because I wouldn't know what I'd do to wear. How she taking this very strong woman right here.
I was on the floor. I couldn't even get up off the ground. I mean, this thing like I couldn't get my body up. I just stayed on the ground. And, you know, a voice, you know, it's just the truth though. But a voice came to me and told me to get up, that I was letting evidence get away. Yeah. A voice came to me and said, get up. You letting evidence get away. And I hopped right up to my feet. Yeah, I just hopped right up to my feet. I stopped crying. It's like everything went away. And I was like, you letting evidence get away. I knew what that was. I said, that's the police. I said, they killed him, Helen. So I asked my husband, I said, how did they say he died? And he said, they say he hung himself. I thought they was gonna say he got stabbed. You know what I mean? Anything but to say he killed himself. I knew that was a lie right off the top. Because me and John had that conversation already. Yeah, we had that conversation. Because I knew he was going to jail and I asked him that. I asked him that like a month, maybe 3 months. like 3 months before he got killed, we was talking about it. I said, John, are you scared to go to jail? He said, no, Mom, I'm not. He said, no. He said, matter of fact, I can't wait to go so I can get it over with. I'm just not gonna go turn myself in. He said, but honestly, I really want to get this behind me so I could come back out and put my life together. And he said, and I truly hope God give me another chance to come, to go and come back out and get my life together. He said, that's what I really want to do.
Special thank you to the family of John Horton. We appreciate you for sharing your story. And a special thank you to our DCP Entertainment team, co-host and executive producers Chris Colbert and myself, Adele Coleman, editor and sound design Byron Hunt, producers Heather Johnson, Ryan Woodall, and Mike Dubose, and associate producer Quentin Hill. Join us next week for part 2 of John Horton.
Yeah, off top, Christopher Kidder, Cliff Yates, his little stanky butt. He a comedian. Oh, he been a comedian for years. Beating inmates, killing inmates, and then he do comedian acts with his pistols and all that. Cliff Yates, Christopher Kidder, William Penhallow, Mark Romero. Mark Romero is the worst out of all of them because he the one beat John on March the 4th, threw John in K-10, and then they killed him. And Mark Romero, his name would never have came up if one of the other deputies didn't tell on him. Because the night John got killed, those deputies tried to put it on the shift before them. They tried to put it on the earlier shift that he died on day shift.